What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to this week's episode of A&K Roundtable Sports. We have an interesting schedule for you guys. First, we're going to talk baseball. The MLB playoffs are here, so we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty tonight. We've got the Pirates and the Reds, Liriano versus Johnny Cueto. So, start us off. I'm with Aaron Fauché, the master of baseballology, so if that even makes sense. But Aaron, talk to me a little bit about baseball and the Pirates and the Reds tonight.
Well, hopefully this video's up, first of all, by the time that that game's over. But
we'll get the AV department on it.
The blackout in Pittsburgh, I mean, it's their first, playoff game in 22 years. I for one, I'm excited to watch it. I hope the Pirates win. First of all, for a bet I have, and then second of all for,
they're good at baseball.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that atmosphere is going to be crazy. I know there's a lot of people rooting for him. I mean, McCutcheon's a fan favorite. So that's going to be crazy. I also think that the Cleveland-Tampa Bay matchup is going to be a good one.
That's right. Tampa Bay did beat Texas last night 5-2 in a
David Price
exactly. David Price dominated that game, and so I mean that's another game like you said. And you like Cleveland?
Yeah, tough to go against. I mean, they named the starters Alex Cobb for Tampa Bay, who's been phenomenal his last 3 starts, and then Danny Salazar, a young guy for Cleveland. So it's kind of the same matchup. Tampa Bay just had, the veteran guy, or is veteran, more so veteran, and then the young guy. But I mean, Cleveland, I think they match up all right with Cobb. There's a lot of changeups, doesn't have an overpowering fastball, and Kipnis, Brantley, Santana, those guys are guys that like to use the whole field. So I don't think they're going to be affected as much. What do you think, being a former pitcher?
I think the Rays. I love Alex Cobb, and I think another guy, Chris Archer, is another one that huge for those teams. The 2 unsung heroes on that pitching staff, and Cobb is going to have to come up big. Salazar, was in the minors a month and a half ago, and that's going to be interesting to see because Cleveland is riding this extreme high right now. Ever since been battling their way back into the wild card, finishing in the wild card playoff, and then Giambi with that home run that Cedar butts a week ago. But other than that, it's hard for me to take Cleveland when like you say, you got Brantley, Bourne, Swisher, Cabrera, all these guys, Santana, Kipnis, all these guys. But man, the Rays are just so, I feel like, more experienced and more, they know the atmosphere. Cleveland's gonna be pumped. Cleveland's gonna be going nuts, and I like Cleveland, and I think they're a good team. But I just see the Rays coming out of this one close game, 5-3.
Yeah, and actually, I think if it was a series, I'd probably go Tampa Bay. But
that's true. One game at home.
Yeah, and I actually think whoever would advance on plays the Red Sox, I believe, and I think Tampa Bay definitely would have a better shot at winning the series against the Red Sox and winning the series further on in the playoffs than Cleveland would. So it's like it sucks, I guess, for Tampa Bay to have to play all these one-game playoffs. And David Price was huge, but. Can they get another pitching performance like that? I guess we'll see, because their bullpen has been kind of taxed. But if it gets into the battle of bullpens, Chris Perez has been shaky, and Joe Smith is all right for the Indians. But other than that, you got to give the edge to Tampa Bay. So if Salazar doesn't give them at least 6 innings, I'd have to say Tampa Bay takes it, but should be interesting. Nationally, we got the Dodgers and the Braves, and then St. Louis versus the winner of the play-in game. Kind of sucks, in my opinion, to see St. Louis play the winner of the play-in game.
Being both in the NL Central.
Yeah, obviously that's how it works out. Nothing to do with it, but what do you think about the Dodgers and the Braves? Any thoughts there?
We went over earlier before the show. We looked at. You were telling me that the only 3 guys on ESPN that picked the Dodgers to win the World Series.
Yeah, out of 31.
Out of 31 people, I think the Dodgers are up there for World Series. I'd say between them and then the Red Sox, I think, are up for favorites. I think the Red Sox Dodgers is a very probable World Series. And I mean, the Dodgers are so deep. Kershaw, you're going to see Kershaw, Greinke, Ryu on the mound. Like, wow, that's phenomenal. I wouldn't want to face those guys. And then the Dodgers going up against the Braves, you're going to have Medlin, and then you're going to see maybe Minor to Tehran, and then Wood is going to be out of the bullpen, who's also a good lefty. I think that's going to be interesting. But I think on the mound, the Dodgers are stronger. Offensively, I think they're very even.
Yeah.
Maybe even a slight tilt to the Dodgers. But the Braves are definitely been playing great baseball, and Upton's been hitting well towards the end of the season. And if it's going to be a fun series to watch. Baseball, baby. The playoffs are awesome. It's going to be interesting to watch.
And this is definitely a matchup of two teams that you could kind of argue may have peaked a little too early. But like you said, I mean, Greinke, Kershaw, and Ryu, there were 12 pitchers in the bigs that had ERAs under 3 for the season, and all 3 of those guys were there. And especially with Kershaw and Greinke pitching on the road, games 1 and 2, you got to figure they give you at least a shot to split, if not sweep it. And you talk about the Braves. I mean, Tehran was a little banged up towards the end of the season, and then Mike Minor his stuff has looked kind of flat lately.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like the Braves, I mean, they had such a huge division lead that they kind of eased off the gas pedal at the end. Mm-hmm. I know that they've been in the media a lot for their scuffling and the baseball police over there in Atlanta, but
people pimping home runs against the Braves does not go over too well for Mr. McCann.
And I definitely think, like you said, I couldn't believe that only 3 people took the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Because there's no weakness on their team. Their offense is good. Their pitching is great, and
their bullpen as well.
And they have power arms in the bullpen, and you need to have, power pitching in the playoffs to win. And Kershaw, Greinke, Ryu. I mean, Ryu's not as big of a power guy, but definitely guys that can strike people out and get you out of big situations. St. Louis, what do you think of them? I know you're pretty high on them.
An Alan Craig injury has definitely been kind of harmful to them. And then we talked about, and you made a good comment earlier, the staff. Shelby Miller is not. He's regressed since we first talked about him on the very first podcast of our very first episode of our show, when you were high on him for potential Rookie of the Year with my guy Fernandez. Who, thank you. But the Cardinals, they still have power on offense. They still have good arms in Wainwright, and I think that they're going to be pretty good. And I think they still have good depth in the pen. I think they'll beat the winner of the wild card, and they've seen so much NL Central. That's, like you mentioned, I mean, so much NL Central, especially after the wild card winner, Reds, Pirates, regardless, against the Cardinals. We've already seen it, but I think the Cardinals will have the edge being at home, and then they're gonna win that series in 5-6 games.
I tend to agree with you there. I mean, and the thing about Miller, it's not like he's regressed to horrible levels, but the way he started out, I mean, they were world beaters. Wainwright is as good as they come. And then,
Michael Wacha, after that no hit close call, is another guy I think that could be a little impact for the Cardinals in the postseason.
And the thing I mentioned about the Dodgers, I mean, with kind of more, I guess so to speak, power pitchers. But you look at the Cardinals, and they really don't have a big power guy besides. I mean, I guess Miller would be considered a 4-seam power guy, but I mean, Wainwright is kind of off. Deception a little bit, changing speeds, Wacha more the same, a sinker baller. So it'll be interesting. I mean, because the adrenaline levels are so high in the postseason that those guys that change speeds, they in my opinion don't seem to fool and miss as many bats as they did during the regular season.
Absolutely.
So that should be interesting. Moving to the American League, Detroit and Oakland. It seems like this has been the same series for 5 years now running, at least in my opinion. Detroit chooses Verlander to start Game 1 against Cologne. What do you think there?
Like you said, we've seen this over and over and over. It's like the never-ending story between Detroit and Oakland the past, 2 years I think it's been. But I like the Tigers. It's in the last series between Oakland and Detroit, it was Oakland just putting the pounding on the Tigers.
Which is very impressive.
Very impressive.
In Detroit,
and they looked great. But from the beginning we said Tigers are going to be the team to beat, and I still think Tigers are one of the teams to beat. Tigers Red Sox is going to be the ALCS in my mind, and I think that's going to be an interesting series. So I'd have to go with the Tigers. Offensively, you have to say it's hard. You have to say they're better looking at the lineup for the A's, but somehow the A's go out and battle, have that grind to them, and they win games. But I don't know. I'm not. I want to see like an awesome series for me would be to see Oakland Pittsburgh. I just can't see that happening.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with the Tigers in this one in 6 games.
I agree with you, and then I also agree with you with Detroit and Boston, the ALCS. Boston has been huge. I mean, if you had told me at the beginning of the season that John Lackey and John Lester and Buckles, oh my God, we're going to rebound like they have. And
well, the thing is, Buckles has been hurt for 2.5 months.
And I think that might be a good thing.
No one's seen him.
And he's going to come back. He's had, I think 4 or 5 starts leading into the playoffs, so just enough to get sharp, and his arm is going to be fresh. So tough to pick against the Red Sox. So you said Detroit and Boston in the ALCS. Who wins that?
Boston. I'd go Boston World Series, Boston, LA. I think the Dodgers.
Boston, LA.
Dodgers, Boston World Series, and I would have to go with Boston to win the World Series. I think I like the Red Sox, but the Dodgers it's going to be a 7-game battle royale, and I'd have to go with the Red Sox.
Nice. Okay. Close. I'm with you on the Dodgers. I think they're definitely going to make it out of the NL. About mid-season, like you said on our first podcast, I picked Detroit to win it all over St. Louis. I'm changing the St. Louis pick because of their pitching. I'm going with the Dodgers, but I'm sticking with Detroit to win it all.
Okay.
If Verlander is 70, if he's 80% of what he used to be, how can you pick against him? I mean, as good as the Dodgers pitching is, Sanchez, Scherzer, Verlander, that is true power stuff.
The only thing that can be costly to them, I think, is their bullpen.
Yeah, I agree. But luckily, I mean, and not to mention Fister too, Sanchez, Scherzer, these guys have thrown 110, 115 pitches all year, even as soon as last weekend. Fister was stretching it out. So I agree with you. Their bullpen is kind of shaky, but I think it being October and everybody being zoned in a little bit, they should be a little more efficient. So I'm going to go with Detroit.
Good.
But definitely good stuff to look forward to. Moving on to the NFL, giving you our top 5 teams, our power rankings through the first quarter or so of the season. Kevin, who are your top 5 teams? These are Kevin's top 5 teams, regardless of record, just who he thinks are the best. I haven't looked at them. They may turn out to be all 4-0 teams.
It is all 4-0 teams, and then I have a slight sleeper that I think is a 3-1 team that will find its way into the top 5. You starting off number 1, or I want to go number 5 first. I'll go with New England. I think 4-0 New England is a stretch. They definitely earned the 4-0 with the players that they had, and after beating a Falcons team that was heavily favored, I felt, and everyone thought the Falcons were going to win that game. Tom Brady came out, battled, put up points early, and then they held off a late rally from the Falcons, or a late comeback from the Falcons. So I'm going to put them at number 5 because I just don't. I mean, you got Gronkowski coming back this Sunday,
and Amendola. I'm not sure if it's this week, but soon.
Soon, yeah. And so that's going to be good for Brady. More options and more offensive firepower. So that's big for them. They might find their way moving up, but as of right now, the team that they have, when you have guys that aren't exactly top of the depth chart guys that are playing for him right now.
Yeah.
So I see them still number 5, but they could improve, they could regress. We'll see. Seattle, another team. I love what Pete Carroll's doing now. Huge comeback win in overtime over Houston this past Sunday. Kansas City, Andy Reid is doing a great job. Alex Smith, Jamal Charles, good. I'm going to put them at number 3. New Orleans was extremely impressive. I have them at number 2. Sproles, Jimmy Graham, Breeze, and they just look so just smooth. That offense looks smooth. They played great defense, I thought, also against Tannehill. Picked them off 3 times, and so that was huge. And I think New Orleans number 2. I see them sticking there most of the season. And number 1, you cannot argue with the Denver Broncos going out, putting the wax in on Mike Vick and the Eagles. And as a matter of fact, I think they're going to do the same thing to the Cowboys this weekend. And then you got the Jaguars in the coming weeks. 6-0 is very soon to see out of the Denver Broncos. And my team just outside the top 5 that I think is going to find their way in is Indianapolis. I really like Andrew Luck, and I think that they got Trent Richardson. That team is just going to keep playing good football. They had a big win. I mean, they played Jacksonville this past Sunday, but good to get done with the bad teams. They're going to have a good challenge this weekend. Can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a pretty decent team. So that's going to be interesting to see. But I see Indiana, Seattle, exactly. It's Seattle. So I have my sixth ranked team in the power rankings going up against Seattle, number 4. Indianapolis wins that, you might see a little switcheroo in the top 5. So that's mine. I like them. All 4-0 teams so far have looked really impressive. Even New England, even though they shouldn't be in the top 5, they're winning. Tom Brady is Tom Brady, and that's all I'm going to go with for my 5.
I can't disagree with you. I have actually the exact same 5 teams, but in a different order. And like you said, it's impressive that these teams have gone 4-0 because we've seen teams like, the Browns beat the Bengals, and the Browns also beat the Vikings, and teams losing left and right. There's a lot of parity in the NFL. I'm going to go with Kansas City, number 5. Their defense is fantastic. Like you said, Jamal Charles is a player, good coach. I'm waiting for that Alex Smith collapse. I mean, or not necessarily collapse, but you got to figure that with Jamal Charles being so good, defenses are going to just start stacking the box on him. And I mean, Alex Smith, it seems like he throws 5-yard passes all game. It's like eventually you're going to have to go down the field to make people respect that, and I don't really think Alex Smith is capable of that, but that defense is for real. Number 4, New England, I'm with you. It's more so because they're getting healthier. They're 4-0 without Gronkowski and without Amendola for the most part. I definitely wanted to pick against them because the running game has been kind of iffy. They looked a little better on Sunday, but one thing that I'm worried about with New England is the loss of Vince Wilfork for the year, who has been huge in the past for their defense. Kind of a soft schedule, but they're 4-0 is impressive. 3 New Orleans, like you said, I'm with you, but I think the main reason for New Orleans is their defense is 100 times better than last year. Last year they were giving up 1 million yards, 1 million everything, and
keep going, sorry.
Rex Ryan, to come in there as much maligned as he's been, has been huge. And if your defense can hold them to under 20 points, I'd be surprised if the Saints lost the game this year. And
something else I didn't mention, you got Sean Payton back.
Yeah,
that team and that city is just so much behind him. The chemistry with that coach and that, like in all of New Orleans, that's what has been, I'd say, contributing to their success this year because it's a completely different team. Completely different team, both sides of the ball, and I think that's huge, and that's the reason why they're in the top 3 for both of us.
And big game at Chicago.
Yeah, definitely.
Number 2, Seattle. Russell Wilson, I've actually been kind of surprised to see how. I really don't think he's played that well. But big comeback at Texans. Yeah. I mean, good teams find a way to win those games, and their defense is insane. I mean, and they're not going to get knocked off at home. The teams in the NFC are looking at Seattle and waiting for them to lose a road game because if not, I mean, it's going to be tough to knock them off later in the year. And then number 1, of course, Denver. 16 touchdowns, 0 interceptions for Peyton. The running backs look all right. Their defense looks great. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie has emerged as one of the top cover corners. And
options on options.
Yeah,
on the receiving.
And I saw something online. I mean, the Broncos, it was a prop bet online. It was the Broncos to go 16-0 and win the Super Bowl was plus 700, which is, 7-1 to go undefeated, which, only a handful of teams have gone undefeated in the regular season, and win the Super Bowl is only 7-1. So that's, if that shows you how hyped the Broncos are right now. But I am going against them this weekend. So moving into that.
Interesting.
Going into our pick section.
Wait, real quick. Who is your surprise team at the top?
Excuse me. Out of the top 5, I like San Diego. I love what Phillip Rivers is doing. Oh my God! And I've been one of the biggest Phillip Rivers haters in the entire world. But their offensive line had questions going into the year, but Ken Wisenhunt has them running an offense where they get the ball out quick. And Ryan Matthews is, as criticized as he's been in the last few years, is running people over, playing pretty good. Danny Woodhead, huge. How bad does Tom Brady miss him? And then Gates looks like he's
I
coming
was
back.
going to say, Mr. Gates looks pretty
So San Diego, I think, could sneak in, maybe not to the top 5, but definitely into playoff contention. And then Detroit, I mean,
Stafford
if they stay healthy, Reggie Bush has to stay
Yes.
healthy. But that team can put points on the board, as evidenced also by the upcoming picks this weekend. So, like I said, moving into those, the 2 and 3 for me last week.
Are you hyped right now?
Are you
hyped?
I'm hyped. I'm trying to.
We both went 2 and 3 last week.
So 4 and 6 last week. Everybody laughed at Kevin for picking against Oregon. Everybody laughed at me for picking U of A. If you saw those games, oh my God. But moving into this week, Kev, I'll let you go first. Give me those 5.
You know what? We're kind of calm, cool, and relaxed right now, so I'm going to get a little bit pumped. I'm going to get a little rowdy. I know I went 2 and 3. I'm not your guy right now. I need to be your guy. I need to see you knocking at my door, me opening my door, and you saying, Kev, I need them. What do you got for me? And I got them for you right here. 2 and 3 last weekend. We're going to go 4 and 1. I know one team. I can't be perfect, but 4 and 1 is very, very likely. First, I'm going to start off UCLA at Utah, -5. God, UCLA has looked great, and I think they're going to continue. There's a fly flying around my face, but I think UCLA -5 against Utah. Utah is, nothing really that special. Going in Utah is a hard, tough place to play, but I think -5, give me that. The
Thursday nighter too.
Thursday nighter.
So watch this early, baby.
Come on, man, we're going to win some money real early this week. Then we're going to go the U. Miami, baby. -4.5 at Georgia Tech. I think actually no, it's at home. Miami's at home against Georgia Tech. -4.5. Give me that. That's money. Easy paper. Take it. You're gonna come knock on the door. You're gonna thank me, shake my hand, and greet me like a fucking man. I said that. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
We're getting pumped. We're getting pumped. Stanford -7.5 at home against Washington. Keith Price has looked very, very good, and I think Bishop Sankey is another guy that's looked really good. But trust me, did you see Stanford against Washington State? Absolutely demolished them. The Washington State team that was even talked about upsetting Stanford. Are you kidding me? Stanford is going to roll. 7.5, they're going to win by 21. Then I got, I'm going to stay within. I got 3 Pac-12 picks, and I'm going to go with the Devils, baby. They look so good against the USC Trojans. They got Lane Kiffin fired. Get out of here. Lane Kiffin, you're done. You don't have a job. Go back to being an OC somewhere, maybe Tennessee. And then you're going to go, like I said, I'm sorry, ASU -5.5 over Notre Dame. I like it. Taylor Kelly looked great.
Tommy Reese, your boy.
Tommy Reese, man, he had a great game. If you didn't see that pick this past weekend on Oklahoma, Tommy Reese had a quarterback rating of 10, which was very impressive. He's going to have one of 12 this weekend. ASU take him -5.5, and then I'm going to go with Denver in Dallas -8.5. Peyton Manning, Decker, Welker, Tom. Say no more.
Denver 8.5.
8.5, which is going to be interesting. Let's go on over to Aaron. What do you have for me?
Okay, Friday nighter, because I know you guys love nothing more than to head on down to the Memphis Sports Bar and watch that Friday night football game. Utah State again on Friday night. This time I'm going against them. Give me BYU in the points. +6.5. I think BYU and their quarterback, a shifty little running quarterback, the Northern Nation, and rise up for an in-state rivalry. And BYU is a tough team to play against because they can run the ball. I think they'll keep Chuck E. Cheese and the Aggies off the field. Give me the points for BYU. Another 2 college games, 3 pro, by the way. Next college game, I'm with you on Stanford, except I'm buying a point, baby. Buy it down to -6.5. I want that touchdown. Washington, I love what they're doing up there. I love Sarkisian. I love Keith Price. Safety's a man. Safarian Jenkins is good. Not in Stanford, though. I think Stanford, their ability to run the ball, and then Hogan protecting it. That defense, Stanford has the best defense in the nation, in my opinion. And they're going to be able to bottle up Washington, who had some trouble with Arizona for 3 quarters last week. Moving on to the pros. Give me Dallas +8.5 against Denver.
How did you go against the Broncos?
Because it's the number. You give me more than a touchdown in the house that Jerry built with 100,000 strong. Dallas is the worst home favorite in the history of football. But you give me Tony Romo, Des Bryant. They got some playmakers on that offense.
We'll find the dunk for you next week.
DeMarcus Ware is going to be all over Peyton Manning. Okay, they played this cupcake schedule, the Giants. the Eagles. No pressure.
Yeah,
Marcus
CDs.
Blair is going to be in his shorts, baby. Okay. Next one is Green Bay and Detroit over 53.5 in Green Bay. I think that's going to be a shootout. 72 points last week between Detroit and Chicago. And Green Bay has a better offense than Chicago. Green Bay coming off the bye week. Not really a defense, so as long as Reggie Bush is healthy, plays the whole game, give me that over 53.5.
You're gonna finale.
And then lastly, the Monday night special. I know everybody's going to be wanting to press their winnings off my picks and chase their winnings off Kevin's picks. So everybody's got to make that Monday night chaser. Give me the Falcons -9 at home against the Jets. I'm doubling up on them from last weekend. The Jets, Geno Smith, 4 turnovers last week. Matt Ryan, horrible in the red zone. Monday night is a perfect time to showcase that new red zone offense. They need this win to the Falcons -9.
All right, well, you
Take
have
them to the bank.
the bank. Is it a guarantee for this weekend?
No.
Not a guarantee. I will guarantee because I'm confident in these picks. Come and see us. Let us know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever, the social media stuff. Aaron, thank you very much.
And thank you guys. Look forward to watching some soccer, some playoff baseball. NBA 2K14 in stores now. Go get it. Buy me online, shopping on Yelp. And I'll show you what's up with my new stuff. See you next week.
See you guys.